So good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on when you guys are watching this. Haven't posted in a little bit because we've been really super busy, a lot of stuff going on and no real cohesion to any of the projects that we're working on. So I really haven't posted anything. It's kind of raining out and dreary, not much to do outside. So I've decided to take a couple projects. I sort of started cleaning the shop yesterday, and now I've got some room to sort of work. And as I was cleaning out the garage, I found some veneer. This is a veneer. So this is a teak veneer. It's paper thin, and you glue it or epoxy it onto another substrate, such as this piece of Luan that I have right here. And that's going to make a back door, which is what this is right here, which I found. I was like, oh, look at that. And that spare piece right here fits just about perfectly. So like, well, I'll use this and this. I'll make a back door. There's my back door panel, which I've already taken out and I've replaced with another one. It was really temporary. It looks really good. You wouldn't even be able to know that it was an actual teak that's on there. It's literally just a piece of Luan I stained and painted white on the outside. But we've got the time, so we're going to do this. This is also the flooring and the new decking that we are going to use in the engine room for the batteries. Remember how the batteries blew up and all the acid went all over the place and basically just corroded and deteriorated the wood underneath. So this is 3/4 inch marine grade plywood. We've put Bilgekote on top of it. It didn't come out the way I want. I remember Bilgekote being like thick, like a really heavy, thick, almost Play-Doh-y, not Play-Doh-y, but really thick, and it just didn't come out like that. It really just kind of just soaked into the grain. You can still see the grain. So what I'm going to do is I just sanded this down with 220. I sanded that with 220, and I'm going to mix a bunch of resin, and I'm going to roll or paint some resin on here. You can either do resin or epoxy. So the difference between resin and epoxy is a bit harder. It's not going to seep into the material as much. So this is a two-part, so part A and part B. Usually it is a 2-to-1 mix. So when it gets to this point where I can't remember what the blue and the red is, blue is one and red is the other, I just kind of like lift them up and go, oh yeah, there's less than there. The problem with epoxy is it takes a lot longer to cure, and in the temperatures that we're in right now, I mean, it's warm out. I'm essentially in a t-shirt and some jeans and nothing else on my feet, is that it's going to take a little bit for these things to cure. I've had it where it's taken days for it to actually tack up and cure. So I don't want to go through that hassle. So I'm going to mix up some polyester resin, which is what we would normally use for our fiberglass work. I'm only going to put a very thin layer on this, literally just to give me a flat substrate. So when I put the Bilgekote paint on, it's nice and flat. So I went out and bought some more hardener. So here's the difference here. This is a two-part, 1 and 2, 2-to-1. This is a polyester resin, and there's two different types of resin. One is a like a boat resin, which I've got kicking around here up there somewhere in the back. One has a wax in it, one doesn't have a wax in it, and so that's to be able to pull it out of the mold. Then you'd have to wipe it and sand it off. It's a pain in the butt. So just make sure which resin you're using just a straight fiberglass resin. And then here is the liquid hardener. So I went out and hardener's hardener, basically. It's all the PEBE, whatever the hell it is, hardener. So I'm going to use this with this, and that is a couple of drops to a pretty good amount of this. Again, depending on what the temperature is. If it's really, really hot out, that's going to pot up really quick. If you put a lot of this in, you're not going to have a lot of working time. And it also decreases the structure of the resin, and it's going to be not as strong. So you want to try and mix it properly. And then third thing that we've got is a marine filler. So this is a filler, and then there's a hardener on the top of here. It's more of a paste as well. Mix that together, and it gets into a consistent color, and then you can put it on. So if I had thought I'd seen one around here, like a little gouge here or here, or like this, I could fill that in with my filler first, sand it down, and then put my epoxy or my resin on top. However, this is going to be underneath a bunch of batteries. I don't really care. In fact, I could probably just paint it one more time and it would be fine. I'm just going to put a little resin on it just to strengthen it up a little bit, or just give it a little bit more protection and smooth it out, and then put the last bilge coat on. So I'm gonna mix up a little bit of this. I've got my chip brushes and I've got my measuring cups right here. That's why you've got all these little things on here, so you can do the proper mix with this and that, and especially with these two here. So I'm gonna mix that up and we'll start putting it on. I'll show you that. And then also I'm gonna do the same thing on this. I'm gonna put a coat of resin on one side, because this is gonna be the outside of the boat, where the other side's gonna be the inside of the boat. So one side I'm gonna glue on, and then that side's gonna be resin, sand it and paint it with a all grip. And I've done a couple of segments on doing all grip. Maybe I'll do another one. We've got to go back to all that stuff that we were doing, because we put all that on hold because we had so many other projects going on. Tell me in the comments down below if you guys know what this is. What ship is that? It's been sitting out here for a while. My dad had this when he was a kid. I found this up in an attic when I was doing a home inspection, and the guy let me have it. We destroyed my dad's. But let me know you know what ship that is. All right, so as you can see, I got 12 ounces of the resin in my container. And this says, just so you guys know, about 2 tablespoons or 10 drops of hardener per ounce. So it's 120 drops, or many tablespoons. Can't do the math on that. So I'm gonna add about 120 drops in here, which is gonna be pretty close to at least half of that. And then we'll mix that up, and then we will start rolling it, or actually painting it onto here, and it'll eventually just work itself out and give me a nice smooth layer. We'll come back and scuff it up with a 220 or a 400, and then it'll be ready for paint. I'm gonna do the same thing on that board over there for the outside, and then like I said, I'm probably gonna glue on the veneer on that side, and then we've got to put a varnish on that. All right, so 12 ounces was just about perfect. You can see that I've got just a little bit, and I like to have a little bit left. It's always better to have a little bit left over than, well, having to mix up another tiny little batch about that much. Plus, I'm gonna leave this in the cup, and then that's gonna verify my pot time, and also that it's cured. If it cures in here, it will cure in there. If it doesn't cure in here, oh boy, we got some problems over there. So I'm gonna let this sit. Hopefully it should be tacking up shortly. Like I said, it is a little cool out. I put about half of the container in for about 12 ounces, about right. I put a little bit more than the 120 drops in, or 2 tablespoons per ounce, or whatever the heck it was. Just because, again, the temperature, so I wanted to kind of get it to work in a little bit. So the other thing too is I drizzled it on there and I just painted it out. And then once you're done, you don't want to keep on going back, because you're just gonna, it's not gonna flow out. So if you keep brushing it, you're gonna get those brush lines in there. If you just do it once, hit it and walk away, it will flow out, and then it should come out nice and shiny. And you can still see in the light down there a couple of the streaks from my brush, and so it hasn't completely flowed out yet, but it will. And like I said, I'm not all that worried about it. We are going to hit it again with like a 400, and this is literally just a protective coating and make it nice and flat so I can put the bilge coat back on top. This here too, this is going to be the outside. So what I've done is I put the resin on here just to essentially seal it and protect it, because I'm going to sand this down as well, prime it and paint it with all grip. So it's going to be covered anyway, but this just seals it and sort of protects it. So we're going to let this set up as well. You can see that that's starting to flow out pretty nice as well. Actually looks kind of nice, just like that little piece of Luan. And then we'll put on the other side, we'll flip it over and then glue that Luan on, and then the door will be prepped. We still need to trim it down because the old one was still a little banged up, so I didn't do a full trim out of it. So I left it a little wide all the way around so I can put it in there nice. So we'll give it a little bit of time, like an hour or so. We'll come out, check it. Hopefully it will be cured. I can do a quick sand on it, and then we're ready for paint. I can drop this back in and then put the battery boxes back, or new battery boxes, and then the batteries back, and then go back to getting the engine fired up, because we don't have enough battery power to fire up the engines right now after I just did those blowers on that starboard side. So one project always leads into another. Rainy day, nothing better than to do this. So that's going to be it. I got a bunch more projects I've got to do, but that's your baseline for epoxy, fiberglass resin, and then your compounds right there. Okay, so excuse the shininess, because this thing came out awesome. So I ended up putting 2 layers of my epoxy resin on here, polymer resin on here, and I did notice that. So like I said, I always leave a little extra, or make a little extra, to make sure that, you know, just verifies that it's going to work, because sometimes you get a little worried. That one and then this one here. So I did 2 layers on that. I did a quick sand with 220, and then I did 2 coats of the bilge coat right here, which is good. It's enamel for bilge areas, and it's specifically formulated for oils and greases and stuff like that, and wipe off. So that's what I used on there. It's just a standard white, bright white, and it's really nice. So we're going to do the rest of the bilge, but I mean, it came out, it's hard to see on here, but I mean, it shines. Beautiful layer, nice hard enamel. This looks like right out of the boat, or right out of Hatteras. So I didn't do the underside, so I'll lift this up and I'll show you the difference between what this looks like and the other side. So you can clearly see the wood grain, and it's good, it's in there, but you can see there's a little knot, things like that. So it's protected, but not as protected as let me see if I can flip it. No, I can't. As this side, which is just, there you go, you can kind of see the nice shiny gloss. We're gonna edit that out. Nice shiny gloss on that. So really excited about this. It's gonna look awesome once it's back in the engine room. I was down there today making sure that all the 2x4s and structure and everything else was good. That all looks pretty good. So we're gonna throw this back in, fiberglass over where I've cut it out to make sure that we've got a good structure all the way across, and then put the battery boxes back in, batteries, get them charged back up, and then we'll go back to the engine project, which was firing up that stupid engine to get both engines back up and working. Then after that, we're gonna do stabilizers, hydraulic system, and this has actually come out well, nice and shiny. It doesn't matter, this is just the outside. Again, just a nice substrate just to build up the grain, to get rid of the grain so I can sand it, and when I paint it, it'll be nice and flat. And so once that's done, we'll put this literally on the other side of it. So this is our veneer, which I showed you guys earlier. So a bunch of projects going on. Dropped Bojan back in the water this morning. Maybe I'll do a quick video tomorrow up at the boatyard. That was supposed to be a 1 o'clock drop in at the boatyard, and then bring it back up to Daniel Island, and we got it back in the water, and the engines just went tinky, which means that they didn't fire up. The batteries didn't charge, even though it was plugged in. There's a certain something that you got to do. I'm not going to tell anybody what it is. I don't need you stealing the boat, but it's pretty simple. Not wired really properly, because really shouldn't be off and should charge the batteries. Battery charger should go right to the batteries. There shouldn't be anything in between besides a fuse between the battery charger and the batteries. There is, that's what I'm telling you. So needless to say, we drove all the way out there, launched the boat, and couldn't bring it anywhere. So now I've got 2 deliveries tomorrow. I've got Bojan up to Daniel Island, and I've got Nan, that 47-foot wooden boat, Dawn, that needs to get to Cooper River Boatyard. Maybe we'll do a quick video of that as well. And I'm running the X boat on Saturday, so I've got to go over the X boat, which is that electric boat I did a video on. So if you didn't see that one, it's a quick video, like sort of a sea trial on a all-electric boat. Kind of interesting. I'm going to leave it there, I think. Going back to the generator, we got more generators on Santee. We got a lot of stuff that's opened up right now. It's starting to stress me out, but hopefully we're going to get to the point we're going to start wrapping everything up. We'll see what happens, but until then, I've got plenty of projects going on, and just got another phone call for a delivery out of Fort Lauderdale. Maybe we'll take care of that one at the end of the month, and maybe we'll fix some more pumps. Who knows what we're going to do and what the day's going to bring. But thanks for watching. Again, if you guys want to see something, please let me know down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff that we're supposed to do. I appreciate all the love that you guys do give us and all the comments as well. We try and make this channel better and better for you guys, so you get knowledge out of it and you kind of see what we do as a working boat captain and as a captain, and just kind of fixing stuff. So anyway, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.